It's official. We got Trudy back. You're going to love this one. I was looking forward to it for about 2 weeks because the last time Trudy chatted with us, I took a lot of notes, and I actually took more notes than usual, and I shared them with Mark Rader. You know, Mark, he pops in. He's one of our coaches. But Trudy, thank you for doing this. Very excited.
For having me. It's, like I said, it's always fun. I always enjoy talking with you, Tristan.
Thanks. All right, let's get right to this. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about farming. But first, you and I were talking for a few seconds about where the market is. How is the market in your area in Jacksonville, Florida right now?
So Jacksonville went, and so like the whole Northeast Florida market just kind of went from, the first quarter being just the craziest of the crazy market, right? The last 2 years, we were in that super sellers market. And then all of the conversations that we were having with buyers and sellers in that market just changed really March 15th, right? When the Fed started backing off and buying mortgage-backed securities and mortgage interest rates just started progressively skyrocketing, it just caused the market to go into this transition mode. And what happened during that time frame is, some buyers said, there's no way I can afford this. I got to get out, right? Because we were talking about interest rates at 2-3%, and now they're moving into the 4 or 5, and in some cases 6% range. That's double for them. So that's not at all what they had budgeted. And so that changed things. And as a result, we started seeing all of the multiple offers, the frenziness that we were experiencing with our listings started tapering off. And the ones that we actually had under contract became, we weren't able to bulletproof them as well, right? So what I mean by that is, frankly, the last 2 years, if a buyer started to back out of a contract, what did we care? We had 5 backed up right behind them, right? But that wasn't the case, right? So as the market started slowing off, we started seeing more fallout. And so that gave a little bit more opportunity to other buyers other buyers. So, which was fine, but that's made our sellers nervous. And so we had to work a little bit harder to keep those transactions together during that time frame because the market had transitioned. And so now we are, I think, through a lot of that. And what I mean by that is the conversations that we are having with the buyers that are in the market now started when interest rates started increasing. So their expectations are different, right? We've also prepared our sellers for, don't just throw a number up and expect that it's going to come. This isn't as a forgiving market as the beginning of this year. So I love the market that we're moving into now, because as I think I said to you, I think we really are experienced professional agents. Our value really I think shines through now because we know what we're talking about. We know what this market is, and we can speak to the things that buyers and sellers are hearing through clickbait, right? Like the market is crashing and none of that is happening, by the way, people. But we are seeing an increase in active listings. Interestingly enough, it's not because listings are increasing, right? That doesn't mean that we've got an increase in week over week of new sellers. In fact, this past week, we had an increase in active listings, but a decrease in what we normally see in new listings entering the market. And that's because buyers some of them are sitting on the sidelines. So listings are staying there a little bit longer. And so, being able to speak to that and show that to our buyers and sellers, really, it's valuable. They're not seeing that on the news. They're not hearing that, when they click on all those fear videos on YouTube and Facebook and things like that. So that's where we are, and I love it.
What a solid point. Yeah, you are hearing a lot of people, a lot of social media influencers saying that the market is crashing, and they'll go in and really be biased about showing you the facts. So I agree with you on that. So you have taken the time to grow your business through farming and relationships. What does that look like if I were to tell you, hey, where does most of your business come from? And what are you focusing now to grow your business?
Yeah. So the majority of my business comes from my sphere of influence, and which includes prior clients and realtor referrals. So that's the majority of my business. So if you were to take it into three buckets, that's probably two-thirds, a good two-thirds of my business comes from those sources. And the rest of it is from my networking and farming. And so what's interesting is a fair amount of my my sphere of influence came from neighborhoods that I've lived in the past. This neighborhood that I'm in right now is a new neighborhood. I just moved in last year. So I get to start farming this neighborhood new, fresh and new, unlike that, you know, what I've done in other areas. So I'm kind of, this has given me an opportunity to sort of reintroduce myself to starting a farm from scratch. And so
All right.
so I love.
I like that. So that's what I'm here for today. I want to know what this looks like. If I'm starting from scratch, where do you start? What's next? How do you level this up and scale it?
Yeah. So this is what I decided. So I think the first thing that let me back up. I live in a neighborhood of 4,000 homes, a little over 4,000 homes. It's a really unique little area because the construction in this neighborhood started back in the late 70s, early 80s, but it's also still under construction. The neighborhood right behind me closed out last year, and then they just cleared right across the street. So we've got new construction coming in our area. So it really is kind of a fascinating part of the reason that I'm here. I love the neighborhood. There's a lot of history in the neighborhood, and it's big. And so where do you start, right? With farming, should I just start a mass postcard marketing campaign to 4,000 homes? Is that the best use of my time and money? Do I scale it down? And what are the things that I wanted to do? And so I know for me, my best return on value comes through the relationships. So I've got to get my foot in the door to make those relationships, and what's the best way of doing that? And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to start right from my closest neighbors and start moving out. And so that's what I did. There's 50 people that live on my street, and I just started just an organic campaign of getting to know them. First of all, every single one of them does get a postcard from me. And of course, I get all the postcards. This is a neighborhood that's farmed by a lot of real estate agents, as you can well imagine, right? So I get postcards from all of the agents, and I can see what the competition is doing. So what I do is I do something very, very specific to my street. So I just tell them, this is the most recent one that I sent out. So this is really just what's going on their street. Can you see that? This is what's sold.
So you've got 4,000 homes in your area, and that's only specific to maybe a couple of streets, or tell me about that.
My street. This is my street. There's 50
just your street.
This is my street, right? This is how I'm building it.
Oh.
So here, and it's been fun and fascinating, and I think and effective. So so I just made it a point, obviously getting to know my immediate neighbors, and so I did that. So I do customer appreciation events, a pie party, you know, and Thanksgiving, and you know, we do a summer barbecue, and so I just started adding all of them to my invites, and they started coming. And so this year, so the pie party last year, I didn't get anyone to actually show up. They came for the barbecue, but the pie party, what I realized was, you know what, maybe they didn't quite understand. They're not my clients. I don't know. So I just brought pies and took them to my neighbors and just knocked on the door and said, Happy Thanksgiving.
So cool.
And I didn't do it for all 50, just the handful around, but they were so impressed by that. All of those neighbors now invite me to all of their parties, and they all came to my barbecue in July. And so I've got them. So they are now sphere for me, right? And so I treat them like I treat my sphere of influence of prior clients. So all of the things, the giveaways, the magazines, the client appreciation, the quarterly calls, all of the things that I'm doing to stay in relationship with my sphere, I'm doing with the people as they're growing in my network. So everyone on my street gets the postcards, they get the magazine. But I also do things, so I don't always do just real estate. In May, I gave them all a coupon. One of my clients has a pressure washing business. So I gave them all a coupon for pressure washing from my client, right?
Easy.
Easy. They're easy. I mean, really, I was pouring into, my client, but also, adding value to my neighbors. I mean, who else is giving them, discounts? And these are the things I talk about. I mean, when I see them on the street, oh my gosh, you're the one who sent me the postcard for the pressure washing, right?
Yeah.
Also, I have a dog, a really loud dog, but
Good.
the neighborhood, there's a lot of dogs in the neighborhood. And so I've started, getting to know the dog owners. And in some cases, I know the dog's name better than I know the owner's name, but those are the notes that I add to my database as I get to know the people around me. So I start with the REDX data. I have, all of them uploaded through, from that data. And then I put them in my database, and then I just update the notes just like I would with someone in my sphere of influence. So go ahead. Yeah.
You take the REDX information for the farm area and then upload that into a separate CRM, or where does that go?
And that's a great question, because that was really how I decided. I actually take these 50 and they go right into the CRM that I use, same CRM for my sphere and my prior clients, because I'm treating them like my sphere and prior clients, right? So that was the challenge, right? Do I want to take 4,000 and dump them all into the same database and try and, and that's just too overwhelming. So I wanted to start small and build from that. And of course, there are other people that live on other streets that I have developed relationships with. So they have gone into the database as well, and I network with them. They may not necessarily get the Sevilla Drive, postcard, but they are getting, the same information that I'm sending out to the rest of my clients.
Good. And then one question from Nancy. She says, are you also doing social media ads?
Oh, yes, I do. So actually, that's a really great question, timely. So I'm active on social media. I do weekly market updates, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of that. But I also, for my listings, I also do Facebook ads to market those listings. Well, one of my very dear friends got a listing on my street now. So, which is hard, you're out walking the dog and you're going, dang, how did I not get the invitation to this one? But I knew it because that particular house, renters were in, and I didn't have a relationship yet with the owner, and he did. I mean, he had helped them with all of their real estate deals, so it made sense that they went with him. But I just said, well, you know what? It's right across the street, practically across the street from me. So why don't I help Frank sell this home? So I said, hey, you know what? I know where you live. It might be easier for me to do the open houses for you. Would you like me to do that? And so I did. And I got 20 leads from that one open house.
Wow.
And 2 of them I'm actually actively showing property to right now. So that just from that, right? As people come in, I know this neighborhood, right? This really is my home. So I can really speak to a lot of the great things and a lot of the great features of the neighborhood. Additionally, they're about to break ground on new construction. So if you don't like or there's not anything available here, guess what? We can get you into this neighborhood, into a brand new home. in just a few months. So that really became a really interesting and effective part of.
That's so cool that you did that specifically in your neighborhood. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we ended up having all of the neighbors come by. So I invited the neighbors to come over so that they, because neighbors do love to snoop, and especially they're fine especially if you're giving them permission to do that. And so we were able to get all the neighbors over there too, and got a lot of great information.
That's it. That's the key. All right. So then dig deeper into, now that you've got the farm area that you've gotten from REDX, you know some of your neighbors, you start doing these little events, you did the open house. What's the continuance of this throughout the year? How do you start building these relationships?
So the great thing about this is I'm not necessarily introducing anything new to my business plan. I am just adding them. I'm treating them like the other parts of my business plan for sphere of influence and prior clients. The goal there for me though is to make sure that I have met certainly all of the owner occupants on the street and have established a relationship with them. And so the great thing, for example, that open house where we had neighbors coming over, neighbors that I have relationship with, they started telling me about people that I hadn't met, where they, hey, he owns a pizza shop, and this, that, and the other. They just start, neighbors like to talk, and so they just started talking, and it's great because now I can have them introduce me, right? So now I get a warm introduction instead of a cold introduction. So the strategy right now has been letting my dog be the introduction, because that has helped a lot.
That's actually very interesting that you do that, because it's through other things that we allow other people to connect to us. And sometimes we want to force it and there's nothing there yet.
That's right.
Such a great point. I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah. And so, and that's worked. And then from that, I've also, because I get invited to parties, so I get also to meet other people in maybe other neighborhoods, or that live maybe not on the street, but in a different part of our neighborhood. So that has also led me to add leads that I wouldn't normally have through a warm introduction. So instead of just getting, and trying to cover the whole neighborhood, I'm just starting one street at a time.
That is so good. It reminds me of how we tell people, and not just me, but like massive influencers on social, how they say, when you start on YouTube, you need to go into a niche, be as specific as possible, and it will reward you. And so you're telling me the same thing when it comes to farming, which I completely agree with, by the way. So thank you. Thank you for that. A question on the Facebook side. How often are you mailing?
Mailing postcards?
Yeah, those awesome postcards that you had to your street. How often?
Once a month.
All right. And are you mailing them to all 4,000 or just a small area?
Just my street right now. Okay. Just my street.
Awesome. Let me write that down. Great. And when you're encountering these people for the first time and you connect with them, how do you stay on top of them? Like, just to say hello? Is it something that's more organic, or is it forced? How does it look?
Yeah. So, and I do it the same way really that I do with my sphere of influence, right? So organically, we're going to naturally touch so many people so often, right? I mean, you're going to run into them at the store, or you're going to whatever, right? And so I use my database. My lead gen time in the morning is almost entirely devoted to follow-up, right? It's the these are leads that I've already got in, that I'm just following up my sphere of influence. Hey, have you, happy birthday, or whatever those touches are, right? and what you end up finding if you're doing this on a quarterly basis, that you just talked to them 2 weeks ago. So you update that and you move on to the next. Well, the same thing is true with my neighbors, right? So they show up in a call rotation, and I either just saw them, last week, or, we had some kind of conversation. But if I haven't, then I've got to go to the next step, which is, have I met them, right? Have we actually had a, because there are some people still on the street that I've not actually met, right? And
Yeah.
so I, find a way to get to know them. Maybe I go and drop something off at their house, like a market update, or sorry you didn't make it to the party. I made everyone homemade salsa that came to my party. So some people right after that got homemade salsa. Sorry you couldn't come. So here's your salsa. It really depends on what the pop buy is for that I would do for the month. But that's what I try and do, is like, can I organically get over there, while I'm walking the dog, and just drop something off and say hello. And so I have kind of a list of people that, gosh, I just haven't gotten to know. Everyone else, I, especially since they're right around my house, I really do see and talk to at least within a quarter, right?
Got it. Got it. I like that. And there's a question, because I know other people are thinking it, so I'm going to ask you. Eric, great question. What do both sides of the postcard look like? If you could show us kind of like the messaging, right? What is the messaging?
Yeah. So honestly, that's I'm
you.
actually
Perfect.
Yeah. And then this is the front, and the front. So this was the one that went out last month. And I'm actually updating this month. I was actually in the process of doing that this morning. I don't know. Can everyone see that? Is that good enough? Yeah.
I got you. I love it.
It really isn't a lot, it really is just make sure that they see my face. They know that I'm a real estate agent, and that I know everything about what's going on our street, because, everybody wants to know. And by the way, these prices are shocking prices for them. They're, a lot of these people have lived here for years, and, maybe bought it like, $100,000, and they're looking at a price of 500. That's, that's a big shock for them. There's one across the street that, the listing I was telling you about for 600. I mean,
that's the one that your friend / competitor took.
Yeah.
Tell me the approach on that, because so many people would be like, oh, great, somebody else got it. Oh, well, I hope they never sell it. But you, on the other hand, went and said, it's okay that they're with a different brokerage, right?
Oh, actually, it's with he's like, we're really good friends.
Oh, okay. So same brokerage, and you're like, maybe I should really take advantage of this and ask for the open house. How did that conversation go?
Oh, it was super easy. And he, it really was. It was like, hey, this is practically across the street. You want me to host some open houses? And he's like, they're all yours.
That's so good. Well, you know why? You know why it's easy, Trudy? Because of your attitude. That's why. You make everything so much easier. Like there's no drama. Right?
Oh, yeah, no drama. No. But I'm not gonna lie. The morning that I saw the sign go up, I went, oh. I did. I felt all the feelings, all of the things that you're like, oh no, why didn't I get that listing? And
what did I do wrong? What's wrong with them? What's going on? Yeah, I get that. I do that. I still do that.
Geez, it really, but I think that those are the things that make us good, right? Because you just don't stay there, right? You listen to it and you go, okay, now what are you going to do with this? Right. And instead of sitting there and pouting and sulking and getting mad at my good friend, I said, well, wait a second, we can make this something really cool and fun and better. And, and we did. And that's exactly what happened. And so, and I got a bunch of leads out of it, which I wouldn't have had if I were sulking.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have, which I love. So
yeah,
everyone listening in, Trudy's from Jacksonville, Florida, and that surrounding area. It's a pretty wide area.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to, Trudy, in the next few months here as the market seems to have evened out, or it's evening out, no crash, but just a nice slowdown?
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing that I didn't mention when we were talking about what's going on in the market is that investors had kind of disappeared for a period of time because investors don't want to get beat up either, right? And it was hard. Everybody was, scrambling for the same few bits of available. There was no distressed properties on the market, and it's just it became really hard. And we're starting to see investors, investment potential, reemerge in the market. And I think that there's another element to that for a period of time, and I don't know how long it will last or if it will last, but corporate investors bought up a lot of our market last year. 30% of new home purchases in Northeast Florida were bought by corporate hedge funds, investors. And a big conduit for that was the iBuyer platforms like Open Door and Zillow Offers and all of that. And I know Zillow and Open Door are now in cahoots, and I know BlackRock just got $30 billion to, so I'm trying to tune all of that out. But while they're getting everything reorganized, our investors are re-entering the market. And so that's interesting to me. And I like that because I think that's a healthier place for us to have the mom and pop landlords, right? That the local landlords that can, I think that's just a better place for us health-wise.
I
So
agree. I definitely agree. So are there any other ways that you're using REDX besides outlining a farm area and then uploading that into your CRM and then targeting them that way?
yeah, I mean, actually, the investor piece is another way that I do that. So so my husband and I will, whenever we have like spare time on our hands in an area, which happens, often, like we're early for a meeting or, somebody's running late or whatever, we'll just go and scout. And so what we do is we go through the neighborhoods and look for homes that appear to be vacant, maybe a little run down. We take a picture, take a note, and then I go back and I go to REDX and pull that data so that I can, then I can start the right. So I actually I reward myself with that activity when I've finished all of my other activities, right? So I keep this list. The nice thing about that, and actually I have one under contract from that. I literally just on Friday wrote one from that activity. Yeah.
Oh,
Right. And so, it's a nice way to supplement the, the other income producing activity. I have a monthly meetup of investors that we've been meeting since 2017, first Thursday.
wow.
So it's nice to have something of value also to bring to those meetings. So, it's been harder. And the last couple of months, we're seeing it get a little bit easier.
I like that. All right, last question for you before I let you go. What does your daily schedule look like? Is there one that you have, or does it change from day to day?
Well, it changes from day to day, but I do have a schedule. So, the first two, I get up and work out and walk the dog between 6 and 7:30. And then from 7:30 to about 8:30, I'm on a morning mastermind with other agents around the country. So we do that every Monday through Friday. And then from 8:30 to 9 is when I kind of, finish getting ready. I've showered before the mastermind and then dry the hair and get ready. From 9 to 11, I'm doing my lead gen. And so that is, like I said, that's the follow-up. Largely it's the quarterly calls and, the follow-ups from the open houses and, if anyone's reached out, that kind of thing. So I do that from 9 to 11 every morning. And then my appointments are in the afternoon. I do a lot of networking. So on Tuesdays, for example, I volunteer at a housing partnership that provides assistance to lower income homeowners and renters in the area. And so I help them with funding for projects that they need to help homes. So I have to do my lead gen on Tuesdays, either in the afternoon, or I have to double up on Monday and Wednesday. And then so this Thursday, for example, I also am the chairperson for the Small Business Council of our local Chamber of Commerce. And so we have a meeting on the third Thursday of every month, and that just happens to fall this week. So I got to, rearrange some things there. But for the most part, that's what it looks like.
I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for always coming on and giving us a lot of knowledge. I appreciate you. A lot of great questions too. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Trudy, what's the best way to get a hold of you if someone has a referral or questions about what you just
I
talked about?
actually have a referral site on my website just for agents. My website that can sell that. Yeah, TrueDat can sell that. You can see that.
TrueDat can sell that. I love that.
Yes.
Let me write that down. TrueDat can sell.
On the social media network sites, all of that, it's TrueDat can sell that. And certainly there is a way. I have testimonials on my site, and yeah, there you go. Thank you.
That's so cool. Good job on that. I love that. Trudy, thanks again. Keep on doing amazing things.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.